everybody. Good morning. Welcome back to the show. This is episode 675 of the Two Dum Yinzers. I'd like to say to everybody this morning, welcome. Welcome back.
What up?
Do you see this? I see. I don't know if like a lot of people seen it, but because one of these groups that I have in Facebook, it's a because we have a lot of Hispanic Mexican fans. The Steelers do,
Yeah.
and quite a few that listen to the show actually. There's this KFC. Did you see this KFC in Mexico? It's a decked out Steelers KFC in
What?
Mexico. Yeah, I kid you not. Maybe I'll send some pictures over here in a second. But there was it's like the whole entire outside of the KFC is decked out in Steelers. The entire inside, they have like Steeler jerseys hanging. all the all the people that work there wear Steeler jerseys. It's like one of the most amazing things ever. And a couple of the funny things about that is it's a Kentucky Fried Chicken. It isn't like, KFC's even a Pittsburgh thing. They just took a
Yeah.
restaurant that they love, which I do too, and they had made it a Steelers at KFC.
I
Dude,
like it.
do you see that? Do you see it anywhere?
N-
Because I do have pictures saved, but I have to make them
yeah.
suitable for beyond. And I could do that, but it's truly amazing. It's they have like the yellow lights, like it's a really badass situation they got going on down there. I mean, they love their Steelers in Mexico, and it is just really cool. If you get a chance, check it out. Throughout the show, maybe I'll try to crop a couple things and send them over, or if you come across something. But it's really cool. It's a KFC in Mexico, and I think even an address too. I mean, I couldn't understand what it said, but it
Yeah.
apparently was an address. And I don't know. I just thought it was really cool, man. It was interesting to me. Again, if it was a Permani Brothers or something like that, but no, it's a KFC, literally decked out in Pittsburgh Steelers. Everything.
I have a picture right here from their Instagram.
Yeah, put something up. I gotta see this.
Yeah, let me screen share this real quick here.
But this is gonna be. Look at this. Look at this
Look at
KFC.
Yeah.
It's not just. They didn't just put decorations up. Look at that logo on the front of the building on KFC in Mexico, and you see how like it has like all the illuminated yellow and the black. That's exactly how the inside is. Like you go in and there's like a wall that has all these Steeler jerseys hanging, and like I said, the employees they have Steeler jerseys on during their shift, and I'd like to say it was probably for the big games, the playoffs. But if you put that much work in, like right there in that picture on the outside of your building, I mean that's not a temporary thing. Look at that logo.
Yeah.
Maybe they do walk around in Steeler garb all the time.
Yeah, because I know scrolling down, I don't know what I'm screen sharing, but there was some on there of like Kansas City and San Francisco. But that is kind of cool. If they just did it for the game, that's awesome. If it's full time, that is even more awesome. Awesome.
How cool is that? Look at that. Keep it on for a second. I just want to
Yeah.
stare at that for a minute.
Right?
But
I can go there. I haven't had KFC, even though I'm a big guy. I haven't had KFC in about a couple years now, but I would go to that one just about all the time if there was one around here.
See, I do. I like KFC, and I
I
like
like
even more now.
KFC. Yeah.
And how do you accomplish that? Is that is that like a individual owner? I don't know if that's
yeah.
a franchise situation, whatever they have going. But look at that. Look at that
I like
KFC. If you would take off the Colonel's face, I mean, and just kind of go with even the words up there, you wouldn't. Come on. How could you even tell if that's a KFC or not?
I like it. That is awesome. It kind of reminds me of the Burger King outside of, the Burger King outside of Pittsburgh that was no longer part of Burger King, that had their own little pirate operation going on there.
Oh,
but
wow.
this is on a much fancier scale down there. I like it.
I just think that's really cool.
Steeler Freak is saying if they sold Corona, he wouldn't leave.
Good morning, Steeler Freak, my man.
He'd be down there. Him and Terry Bongshaw be hanging out there all day long.
How cool! How cool
That is awesome. I like that, man. That's awesome.
You'd think we would have something, like that around here, but we don't. You know what, John? I agree. I love KFC. I love just getting me a big bucket of chicken and that mashed potato and gravy. Oh, come on.
Oh, give me the mashed potatoes, the gravy, some biscuits, and some mac and cheese, and I am in the coleslaw.
Yeah, the biscuits and dip it in the mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yeah, because I'm not I love potatoes, but I'm not a big mashed potato guy. But that gravy that they have, I don't know what's in it. I don't want to know what's in it. just injected into my veins.
I love it. And they got all kind of good stuff too.
No longer a sports podcast. This is now a KFC podcast.
Well, I
will
just do got a
talk
couple other
KFC all
things
day
here
long.
also around town, around Pittsburgh. A little bit of news first before we do take off, guys, and get things rolling for the day. The Mike, okay, my brain froze up. I couldn't tell if I was freezing or not. Also, okay, check this out, guys. Speaking of cool Pittsburgh sports places, Pittsburgh's first women's sports bar to open up in mid-February. Title IX, it is going to be called. It's in East Liberty. The first women's sports watch bar. What does that entail? What goes on at a women's sports bar? I would think that would be a main target for men.
Yeah, well, maybe one for like women to go and hang out and not have to have like, liquored up dudes trying to hit on the whole time. They just want to go watch some sports.
So when men aren't allowed,
they're probably,
that's what I'm saying. I
but it's probably geared more towards women, and
you would think that would be a just an invitation to every thirsty guy in Western Pennsylvania. They're all going to be lining up outside there to get in.
Unless they got a bouncer outside.
I have questions about this.
Keep the ratio more women to men. You know how they have outside like fancy.
When I seen the post, Mike, in the likes, it was all men.
Of course.
You see what I'm saying?
Thirsty dudes wouldn't go in there and hit on the local sports chick. They go up there. Oh,
it was my first thought. And I consider myself a pretty average guy, and it was my first thought. Can you imagine every guy, as I said, in the greater Pittsburgh area, they're going to be lining up outside of this bar. It's called Title IX. It's going to be opening in East Liberty in mid-February, the Pittsburgh's first women's sports watch bar. Check that out, guys. It piqued my interest in two ways about it.
Derby will be there on opening day. Yeah, him and Peaches. I think Peaches will be there as well.
I got more about Peaches later on. We'll talk.
We got an update on Peaches.
And finally, man facing misdemeanor charges. He stole 25 terrible towels from the Cranberry Giant Eagle on game day of the last Steeler game against the Ravens in the playoffs last Saturday. This dude, he went in and started shoving terrible towels in a brown paper bag and a few other things, and he walked out. He had 25 terrible towels on him. One got caught and now is facing misdemeanor charges. A true Pittsburgh Steeler.
I don't know, man. He should know. You mess with the terrible towel, bad things happen to you.
Well, that's with an EE or an EA.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steeler, Mikey. So there you go. See, that's why I need finish.
It took me a second on the second time you said it. I picked up what you were laying down. See, this is what happens when I don't drink before the show. I miss your jokes.
These are the top Pittsburgh sports stories outside of sports, I guess that you could say. The KFC in Mexico, that is a complete and total Steeler KFC. I thought that was really cool. Pittsburgh's first women's sports watch bar, and then the man that stole the 25 terrible towels. Let's get into sports, guys. The Steelers. What do they got going on, Mike? We went off the air the other day. They signed Skylar Thompson
to a reserve future contract. They signed like him and a bunch of other guys. So look,
I got the list. I'll pull it up here in just a second. But Skylar Thompson was literally the only name I knew on this list. I'll read it in just a second here. We'll see if anybody recognizes any of these names. But the Steelers did, in fact, they signed about 11 future contracts, I do believe. If I'm remembering right, it just take me a second till I can sift through things to find it.
I have a list right here. I got it.
Right. Oh, hold on. I need it too. Don't. Okay. Here it is. All right. So at the very top, quarterback position, of course, Skylar Thompson. They signed. This is 17 players signed to reserve future contracts, including Miami quarterback Skylar Thompson, running backs Evan Hall and Aaron Shamplin. Is that Shamplin? Was that the guy?
Yeah, he was on the practice squad.
Okay. Brandon Johnson, a wide receiver. Lance McCutcheon, a wide receiver. Two offensive guards, Stephen Jones and Doug Nestor. Offensive line, Dylan Cook. You will recognize some of these names. Defensive tackle, Jacob Slade. Defensive tackle, Dominique Davis. Outside linebacker, Julius Welshkoff. Linebacker, Devin Harper. Linebacker, Iku Leota. linebacker Thomas Rush, and 3 DBs, Deshaun Jameson, Joshua Bledsoe, and Kyler McMichael. So they do. So things are moving in the off-season direction, Mike. You see, we signed these futures contracts. There's all the important dates coming up. We are going to go over that either today or tomorrow of the important off-season dates for the Steelers. But we do have a lot of things we're going to go over today, Mike. Let's start with a couple of things from the Mike Tomlin press conference. I don't think we've covered some of these things. I just know that I have them right here in front of me. So let's talk about it. Hey, Derpy, how you doing, my man? Derpy's settling in.
I'm doing
good.
Good. How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling a lot better than I was.
Are you? Okay, good. You getting snow out your way, Derpy?
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah, actually, yeah. It just started. And the beep is back too.
Things, guys. I hear that. It answered before you did. It was actually comical. Good morning, Jen. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, everybody. Some notes that I got from the Mike Tomlin press conference the other day. We didn't get to get into it. Mike Tomlin was asked about his season-ending. He was asked at his season-ending press conference if the playoff baggage. The playoff baggage is something that's getting heavier, and how he does carry that weight. And while waiting for a response that can maybe settle our nerves here in Pittsburgh a little bit, the fans of the black and gold, Steeler Nation, if you will, he gives one of his simple Mike Tomlin answers. It's just really starting to get on my nerves at this point because come on, you do something. But anyway, listen, they asked him if playoff baggage is something that is getting heavier, and they ask how he carries that weight. And he literally says 4 words in his Mike Tomlin fashion: I got big shoulders. That's what he said. That's his answer. End of season. Everything went the way that it did. High expectations. The big, falling apart with 5 games, the last 5 games of the year. Somebody's waiting for an answer about, things that are becoming a concern, obviously. And his answer is, I got big shoulders. These stupid 4-word answers, they're not working for me anymore. Like, at first they were funny, and then it was like, okay, well, he knows what he's doing. I'm just, come on. I think we deserve more than that as fans and people that pump money into this team constantly, year in, year out, and keep things afloat. I would have liked to have a little bit more of an intelligent answer than that, Mike. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but to me, it seems like the way he coaches, it was just that's what it was.
Coaches' press conferences, they're boring to me anyway. So whatever any coach says at the press conferences, I take with a grain of salt. And you figure half the time they don't want to be there. The players don't want to be there. He could even bother with.
I think we deserve a little bit better.
Bother with the BS answer. Come on now, at least give me the BS answer.
Give us something. Yes. Now we go into the off season with the thoughts of you just saying I got big shoulders. Well, that doesn't work for me anymore. Okay. It was passed off as a Mike Tomlinism for years, and people thought it was entertaining. There's even a comedian that comes out and does an impressive impersonation. So it gained some momentum, but which is funny. But this is, we're asking questions about this team and the baggage. We listen. We've been outscored 76-0 in the first quarter of the last 6 playoff games. This is something I would have liked to hear an answer. Something. He says, I got big shoulders. Yeah. And that was it. Come on, guys. Let me see. I know I got something else here about Mike Tomlin. While I am getting back to that, Arthur Smith did get his interview with the Chicago Bears yesterday about the head coaching job. So those wheels are turning. I mean, obviously he's curious to see what he can make out there. And that kind of puts us in a position now we're possibly going to be looking for an offensive coordinator, which may not be the worst thing in the world, when it's all said and done. Okay, here's one. Tomlin doesn't feel that the Steelers are stuck, but all options are open and on the table in 2020. He doesn't feel like they're stuck. I think a good word for this football team would be stuck. If I had to come up with one adjective to describe this team and their performance over the past several years, certainly in the playoffs when it matters. He doesn't feel that the Steelers are stuck.
That was
in his own words.
Stuck in what?
It doesn't matter. I mean, come on. I think it's self-explanatory.
Well, they can get unstuck, but will the organization do it? Will they move on from the players that we know they need to move on from to gain resources to rebuild the team? They won't unstuck themselves.
Well, I like that. It's left open for us to speculate. It's left open-ended. And now we have to sit around all offseason and wonder if he really knows what he's talking about. Another thing he said here, Tomlin hints it worries with strength and conditioning. Steelers had significant number of soft tissue injuries last season. I, for one, seen it all around the league, especially with these hammies. But, who does that's nobody's come on. I don't know. It didn't ever happen before. Why is it happening now? Maybe because you're having your quarterback push a sled around. I don't know. Things just don't seem like
because they changed conditioning staff too because they were worried about it. Brought in all new conditioning people, had these issues, but like you said, those issues were league wide though this year too.
They were league wide, but again, I'm just trying to cover all the points that I really feel that Mike Tomlin didn't get in. Again, you're the guy. You're the person between us and the. You're doing the press conference. You're between us and the team. You're the mediator, and this is the best you got. I got big shoulders. That's stupid. You know what I mean? I do want to say, okay, good morning, Yinzer Joe. Good morning, Field of Steel. You know what? You're right. Cowher 3 years, no 4 years. Tomlin going on 8. This is the longest period of time since in the Super Bowl era that we haven't won a playoff game as the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's crazy. And the best we get is I got big shoulders. Come on. John says Sean McVay has the same number of postseason wins as Tomlin with 10 less years. Mike McCarthy has the same exact record over the past so many years in the playoffs and regular season. He's getting canned everywhere. Tomlin's dancing into the Hall of Fame. Yet I can't get an answer on. Come on, end of the season. Put some effort into stuff, dude. People put our effort into your team. We invest our time and our money. I think you owe the people a little bit better than I got big shoulders. Come on. John says Steelers, Dolphins, Raiders, Jets, Cardinals, Broncos, Bears, Panthers are the 8 teams without a playoff win in 8 years. That's some good company, man. It doesn't look like we belong in that crowd. Maybe the Broncos also, but everybody else, I don't expect. That doesn't surprise me one bit. These are bad teams. They're systematic bad teams. These are teams we laugh at. The Jets, the Raiders, the Cardinals, the Bears, the Panthers. We laugh at these teams. Yinzer Joe, do you guys really feel like the Steelers would play and execute better without Tomlin? Who out there is a better option? I just feel like we should upgrade the roster, trade GP, and get a quarterback. You know, that's a nice trifecta to start off with. The coach, GP, and the quarterback. For different reasons, obviously. Let me see. I think I have something here on GP. You know what? One thing I did find was funny. I did see Antonio Brown did tweet the other day. Antonio Brown, he says, stop comparing GP to me. There's only one Antonio Brown. At least Antonio Brown knew when to keep his head straight.
Did he?
Come on, he wasn't under control for the first 8 years.
He was under control.
He was
under control here for the first 8 years, but then that last year and then his entire tenure in everywhere else.
But I mean, the argument is, when he was here, he was under reps. Correct?
For the most part, yeah, till the end, like when he missed a playoff game or was late for a playoff game too. So yeah.
Speaking of which, if we're comparing here, George Pickens, 35 minutes late on game day for the Kansas City Chiefs. These are red flags everywhere. In any organization, anywhere, not sports, KFC in Mexico. These will be red flags. Where do you show up for your job 35 minutes late, especially when you're making millions of dollars? Come on. You have a luxury job. AB is right with that statement. What else? What else do we have here? Here's one for you. Remember the other day we were talking about Cam Hayward? How he has those 11 pass breakups? Mike, he has the same amount of pass breakups this season is Patrick Surtain.
Surtain's.
Remember we wanted him?
And people are saying Surtain should be the defensive player of the year, that he shut down all these receivers this year. And Cam has more than arguably the best cornerback in the NFL.
Trevon Diggs, he has the same amount as him. Cam Hayward also has the same amount of pass breakups as Jalen Ramsey. Christian Gonzalez.
Jalen Ramsey, he is still going strong this late in his career.
Xavier McKinney. There's a list of good names that you would love to have on your team.
I'll tell you what, though, man, Cam is when he knows he can't get to the quarterback, I that's one thing I love about his game is the way they swat the balls, man. I like I said the other day when we were talking about it, it's a lost art of guys who consistently do it. My God, he's just a beast.
On their way out, Minkah Fitzpatrick. They when the guys are on their way out, of course, this week they're packing their stuff, they're going home. Minkah Fitzpatrick, when he was asked for his comments before he left for the season, he says, quote, "I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I don't have anything I want to communicate to the masses right now," as he was cleaning out his locker room.
He can clean it all out, and hopefully we can ship him away for a second, third round pick.
So, I mean, there's how the season ended, guys. I don't think the separation I think it went about as well as the final stretch of the year. There was no positive reinforcement from anybody really here that I'm seeing to come back and say, you know what, guys, but again, I'm kind of getting tired of what the reinforcement is at the end of the season.
At least they weren't blowing sunshine, rainbows, and kittens up our asses.
I mean, isn't it Watt every year? Next year is going to be the big one, and he does this, and then we come out and we're excited, and everybody's fired up to go, and we have the same kind of season. Derpy, say something or beep or do something. Phil still is worried about you, and you know what? Quite frankly, I am too. Blink,
beep.
There he goes.
He blinked and then said beep,
and he beep again. You had the Joe. And do you think the Steelers were willing to trade GP? Teams wouldn't want him. One of my screen is scrolling as I'm talking. I think they would know about all the diva receivers we groom, and we do not want any part of it.
We've been able to flip them both, though, AB and Chase Claypool.
Yeah, and I don't get me wrong. I think we'll have no problem getting rid of them.
Because
there's going to be somebody will take them because, there's locker rooms all around the league that are just consistently bad, and they're used to these kind of things because they're going to be bad no matter what. I could see him going to the Raiders, the Bears, I could literally see GP going to a lot of places.
Yeah, and, like I said, say a lot on the show, every team goes, "Oh, I can fix that guy. I can fix that guy." That's why you see talented guys who are head cases get chance after chance after chance. Like, "Oh, we can fix him. We can fix him. We can fix him."
You're not, it's like in a relationship. You got to want to be fixed. You got to want to change. And, I don't, me personally, I don't see that from him just quite yet, but that's certainly something that's going to need to be addressed, guys. You're right. Mark Malone.
I was jumping right into that Mark Malone comment about how he doesn't think.
Can I take that just for one reason? Mark Malone says, I could see a team swinging Santonio Holmes trade, which I wish we would have never ever got rid of Santonio Holmes. And I do want to say he was an Ohio State receiver. I loved Santonio Holmes, not only because of the catch in Super Bowl 43, but the guy was a playmaker. Anytime the guy touched the ball, there was always a possibility something big was going to happen. I loved guys like him. I wish we could get at somebody like him, and it was a crime.
Traded him because of the reefer.
They got rid of him for smoking weed. Find me, come on.
And like Mark Malone's also saying, he doesn't think anyone would offer anything to take on Minkah's contract. I think that team would take him because he can restructure his contract easily, spread like his guaranteed money into like signing bonuses. Teams would be willing to do that. It'd drive probably like the trade value down, but at least you would get something in return for him other than if you would cut him and you get dead cap space. I'd take a fourth for him, like F it, move on, because you have to, we have to rebuild. What's working isn't working. They're not going to get rid of the coach, so you just rebuild the roster and go from there.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, man. He was a beast with the ball in his hand, Malone. He was loved watching Santonio run free.
Oh man, I loved him. How dumb! How
Maybe
dumb!
we should draft another Ohio State.
Oh, Derpy, don't open up that can of worms.
Listen, Derpy says 2 words in this show, and that's what it was. If you caught Tuesday's show, you totally understand what we're talking about.
If Derpy did catch Tuesday's show and that's what he is referencing, he's an evil bastard.
A couple other things here as the season comes to an end. And I know I'm just going.
Yeah, no, you're good,
like
brother.
I'm not really bringing for debate. Najee is the first Steeler to have 4 consecutive 1,000-yard rushing seasons since Jerome Bettis. So again, I don't think we're going to re-sign Najee, but again, I do think whoever gets him, they're going to get themselves a nice, solid running back. And finally, this is the one that I want to talk about for a little bit, guys. So a lot of the media here, certainly on social media, one of the big things that I keep reading about is Fields, Derpy, your guy Justin Fields, does have the inside track for that last spot, or I mean for that starting spot at quarterback next year. They're giving hints, maybe, perhaps. Again, the 100 things I read, maybe 3 things I believe, but this was talking about just some comments from the exits and just some things people were saying that they believe that Justin Fields is the front runner at the time. With that being said, that tells me that they're probably not going to bring Russell Wilson back.
I'm not paying $30 million.
Because he's what's
I'm not
that?
paying his
Derpy?
rumored what he wants. I'm not paying that.
What does he want? You talking about Russell Wilson?
It was rumored he wanted like 30.
What does he want? See, it's not going to happen here. Listen, if he showed any sign of possibly giving us anything down the road in games that matter, maybe. But all those games that mattered early that we won wasn't even Russell Wilson. He came back, played the second half of the season after having the sore calf for the first half of the season, and before that, then he came in and broke down the last 5 games. So again, I mean, really, who performed better? I mean, there's some things I seen with Justin Fields that I don't like, where a lot of balls were getting messed up on snaps, which you could blame that on the lineman as well. Then you got to look at your other quarterbacks. Did it happen to them? Did it happen in the So again, Derpy, I mean, I like Justin Fields, and of what we have, I think he probably should be starting right now, this very moment. I didn't say that a month ago. I was still with Russ, but I just don't know, Derpy. Is he that guy, or is he just going to be a guy to pass the baton like these other guys are? There's just certain guys. Look in the faces of some of these younger, talented, athletic quarterbacks, like the guy in Washington. These are the kind of things I would expect and want to see from somebody like Justin Fields if I'm thinking about making him my starting quarterback. Is there any signs of somebody like Jaden Daniels when you watch Justin Fields, because that's what's working? Or are you seeing something more in line of other athletic quarterbacks that aren't getting it done? So I'm far from sold on Justin Fields, but at this point, which again, that doesn't matter, we're done. At this point, if we played a game today, I would say let's start Fields and see what we get. The guy's mobile. At least he was able to get out of some of those issues, which I'm going into just right now, Mike. But then we're coming back to Justin Fields. Sacks allowed this year. Dan Moore Jr., he gave up 12, which is number 1 in the NFL. No wonder our midget was running all over the place.
He fell off in the second half of the season.
12 sacks, Mike, number 1 in the league. Get this. Broderick Jones, he gave up 11 sacks. Number 2 in the NFL. Number 2. So, I mean, one of the things we're saying is shouldn't be a problem moving forward. This young offensive line, they're going to grow. They're going to gel. They're going to get better. They're going to improve. We're a little further off on a lot of different things than I even realized, Mike. 12 and 11 sacks, number 1.
Yeah,
and
people want
NFL,
Broderick Jones to move to the left side, where arguably your better pass rusher is. Yeah, I know that historically, blah blah blah. More teams are putting guys on the right hand side to rush the pass. But no,
it's a quarterback's backside. You have to watch it.
And when people say he's a natural left tackle, to quote Tunch Ilkin, who was a former All-Pro, Pro Bowler here in Pittsburgh, offensive line guru, that just means what hand you put in the ground when you go down to a stance naturally. That's all that fucking means. A natural left tackle in football terms, that's Jonathan Ogden. That's Orlando Pace. Guys that Tony Baselli, Joe Thompson.
They're a
Yeah,
wall.
the guys that don't get around,
Staying
those
a
are
wall.
natural left tackles.
He's a
You know,
screen door.
Roger Jones is an offensive lineman. He's not, keep him at right. Fatano, he showed, I think, a little bit that he played, that he can handle NFL pass rushers, that he will be able to develop and be that guy we thought Roger Jones would be. You put him at left, keep Roderick at right, so at least you know you only have that side to worry about and go from there.
Let me let's do a couple of
Oh,
these messages, Mike. We will get back to Justin Fields. This is something I do want to talk about because if they can't go out and pull off a miracle, this is going to be
That's
our
not a bad
reality.
idea,
So
Mickey.
we'll talk a little. Let's talk about this a little bit here shortly, guys. So let's go back to Field of Steel. He says, fellas stepped out for a bit to watch the Ohio State argument. Freaking awesome. Mark Malone says you're taking away a third of the field having Wilson at quarterback.
Yep.
That's true. Yeah, that's not going to win you a Super Bowl. I can tell you that. Yinzer Joe, San Antonio was traded for a 5th round pick, and we got Chris Carter.
Yeah.
Where is he now? I think he went to the Ravens, actually. Mark Malone says, good God, I hope Jones can only play better.
He needs to stay on that right side. It just, oh my God.
Can you imagine Jones facing up against Miles, Garrett or anybody, one of these guys over? He got to protect the backside of his quarterback, which is arguably one of the most important jobs on a football field.
With him,
has he shown any signs, Mike, that he's that guy?
And the thing with him, like when you watch him play on the coach's film, there will be series and sequences where you watch him play like, this is why we drafted him. He is bowling people over in the run game. In the pass game, he's just boxing people out. And then the next series, his hands, when he goes to punch someone, you should be punching up. He's punching down at their stomach and at a lower chest level and easily swatted away. It's like, dude, we've been saying this all along. It's the mental with him. Like, if he plays with sound technique, he can be a damn good, effective tackle. But he just, I don't want to say lazy, but lazy in his technique.
How does that get mistranslated, Mike, when you go from Georgia to that national championship team, and the guy obviously was good enough for the Pittsburgh Steelers to want to take him and at that pick and grow their line in the future from him? What happened to the translation? Over from the college football to the NFL?
He got by with athleticism in college, like a lot of these guys do, and the thing with him was, like, everyone saying it leading up to, if he can, just be more consistent, refine that skill, not rely on athleticism, he's going to be a great tackle. And we saw it for a handful of games, that 9-game window that rookie year when he came in and totally revamped that line and we became a running force. He was playing well, and you just say, okay, just work on your pass blocking technique. And then this year, everything fell apart. I don't know why he went back to relying on his athleticism instead of relying on his technique, which was improving towards the end of last season. And they came in this season. I think the reports out of training camp, he came in as entitled, had a big head. Hopefully he can come back next year and realize, I can't do that. I can't do that. Some guys need that.
It's taking these young cats from Georgia a little longer to learn than most people. I mean, between him and George Pickens, these guys are they're mashed potatoes between the ears.
They're nuts, and you get those nuts that you can just bully people in college, and that works where you're able to win that way. Like, you got to be able to flip the script. That's why he was a lot of teams had him graded where Pittsburgh was going to draft him. So I don't fault Pittsburgh for drafting Roger Jones. He was, showed that he shows that he can. And we traded up like 1 or 2 picks for him to get our guy.
P. Morton says, "Good morning, good afternoon, I guess, right here, P. In Pittsburgh. See what Fields can do and bring in Jameis or Brissett as a bet. You know what? I mean, yeah, I like both of those guys. I like what they can do in the capacity of a backup. Matter of fact, I've seen both of these guys win a lot of games on some bad teams, and I wouldn't be against it. But just in the ultimate grand scheme of things, or what we've got to try to do to eventually get back on track, I think if we're going to continue to kick the can down the road, maybe bringing in one of these guys, and have your quarterback room be Justin Fields, one of the 2 people you mentioned, maybe Skylar Thompson. is that really improving any and moving forward from what we've basically been doing for years now? Do you see that does that particular formula does that work out in January, if you will? So I mean, don't get me wrong, I like these guys that you mentioned. I really do. I think they do really well for the teams they've been on, and I've seen them win some football games for some teams that probably shouldn't have got wins, but they did win because of those two gentlemen.
Right.
But I think ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, Mike, we have to figure a way out to get our guy, whether it be 2 seasons from now. You mentioned the draft class coming up, the quarterbacks. It's not too thick this year. Maybe next year we got to figure out what we're going to do. We're probably going to go after our receiver or our running back first round this year. That seems to be the popular discussion right now, at least, Mike. But
I was going to say, like, quarterback wise, like, no matter who we go out and get, it's just going to be more of the same right now. No matter if you go out and get like one of the guys that P mentioned or we mentioned, or the guys that Mark Malone has been mentioning, like, it's going to be more of the same. Like, do you swing a trade to bring in Jay McCarthy and just hope that he can pan out? Do you try and lure, Sam Darnold, even though his last 2 games weren't good?
Do you think that they would do that? I keep hearing people say that, Mike, about McCarthy.
I don't think they're gonna. I don't think Minnesota's trading him.
Is it McCarthy? Is it McCarty? Tell me how to pronounce that before I keep.
JJ McCarty.
Is it McCarty?
I think I said McCarthy because we were
McCarty.
Right.
Okay, now is this a possibility? Because I've heard this many times. If Sam Darnold does well, maybe the Vikings will trade off McCarty. And is this? I mean, again, on the championship team last year in Michigan. But you can look at guys like Mac Jones. Is these guys going to make the transition over? And what are we going to be able to? What will we be willing to pay into somebody that hasn't played it down in the NFL yet, Mike? Where does that put?
Yeah, I wouldn't trade for him. I was not impressed with him that much in college, but it was a run pass offense. It was just he wasn't asked to do a whole lot, and with this Minnesota team, he's going into a perfect situation. The coaching staff, front office, they all drafted him, and they brought in Sam Darnold as a guy to hold the place, and they didn't. They were pleasantly surprised with the way he played up until these last 2 games. Now, are they going to let him go or not? I would try and re-sign him, but he's probably going to want too much money to be, the eventual backup for McCarthy or JJ if he comes back healthy.
You're saying Minnesota?
Yeah, Minnesota. I would just, if I'm Minnesota, I'll let Sam Darnold walk, let him sign somewhere, get that compensatory pick next year in the draft, and move on with JJ. And if I'm the Steelers, I'd kick the tires with Sam Darnold.
What I fear about Sam Darnold is this. I like what I've seen. Now, those last 2 games is where things come into question. Obviously, he has 14 wins in Minnesota. Nobody's ever done that in Minnesota. A lot of great things, a lot of good numbers. But you know what? He's almost a guy that you got to have. You're gonna have to have all your other pieces in place when he comes to your team. Because again, you've seen that when he gets sacked 26 times in that game the other night, you got to be able to block him. Is that something that this team is prepared to do at this time? We've seen this year. Sam Darnold in Minnesota has 3, I think 2 or 3 number 1 receivers anywhere else. Is he going to have all those targets when he would come here? Sam Darnold has. So, a lot of people they're talking, and don't get me wrong, I was on that boat as well. But as I'm seeing them play, it's not him that I'm losing the confidence in. It's what we do and what we have. I just think he would come here and get murdered. If he came in and played behind this offensive line again, Dan Moore had given up the most sacks in the whole league. Broderick Jones, the second most. Even if you get yourself a guy like this, you're probably putting yourself behind the 8 ball, because I don't think he's going to excel at what we have going on now. Jen makes a good point. She says, I think it depends on who the offensive coordinator is, which, I mean, that could change. Obviously, you've got Arthur Smith going to Chicago yesterday to interview. I know the Jets are interested in rumors, that a few other teams as well. So, is things in place to bring in and give somebody like him a whole lot of money? Because by the time this team, we build it up, Mike, to be in position to fit the puzzles together, to have somebody like Darnold, his contract might be over and he would want to go somewhere else for more money, as we're trying to rebuild to even get to that level of where he would feel comfortable playing here.
If I'm saying I wouldn't come here right now, because like you said, all the pieces aren't in place. We were hoping like the defense would be able to mask a lot of their problems based around 3 guys, 3 quote unquote elite players, and then guys like Highsmith stepping up again, which he did. People like, Landon Roberts stepping up, people like Patrick Queen stepping up, Jerry Porter making that leap. Some of those guys did what we needed to, but the defense as a whole just collapsed at the end. They weren't able to mask their own weaknesses. They weren't even able to mask the offense's weakness because they were out on the field too much. And getting Sam Darnold, you're going to pay a quarterback. He's going to command $40 million, $45 million for the numbers that he put up this year. So no, and it is not going to. It wouldn't work. Because there's too many holes and weaknesses on this team that you can overcome, especially if that your two tackles don't take a big step. If Patano doesn't come back healthy and is able to play right away, you need a quarterback who's more mobile than Sam Darnold.
And Ben hit the nail on the head. He made a comment the other day. He said something along the lines of Pittsburgh wants they want a tough guy. They want a guy. I mean, look what Ben did back there, and he fought off tackles and he made stuff happen, and he's a fighter. The guy was a fighter. That's what we're looking for. And I don't think it's just us. We're not everybody wants a fighter. Everybody wants a guy that's a winner and gets things done, goes in there, gets his nose broken, goes back in. I mean, come on, that's the ideal guy in Pittsburgh. We love that kind of guy. Again, we're kind of out of our league in a lot of areas, I think, and there's just so many things that have to be put back in place. We might be a little further off than I thought. Mike, a couple of years ago, as a matter of fact, I think the year we drafted Kenny, you said, even with Kenny, this team is still 3 years off from where, we're going to be, and then that whole process went through. Now we're on a whole new process, and we didn't really.
That's what happens. Like when you start missing on first-round quarterbacks, it resets that clock. Unless you can do kind of like San Francisco said, I forget who was saying it, maybe John or Mark Williamson, you keep going out and try and get that quarterback doing whatever you can, then you hit it, and with that roster there, you just go. They got really fucking lucky with Brock Purdy.
They did get lucky, and it makes me wonder if you would put Brock Purdy behind our line and give him our receiving core and our offensive coordinators, would Brock Purdy even be the same player? I just don't know if that would.
I think he would be able to produce just by watching film breakdown on him with his fundamentals and the way he can play the game. Yeah, would he be as effective?
He has a great line down there.
Effective now?
He's had great weapons. I mean, the weapons that he has is unbelievable down there. So it's tough. It's tough, guys. P says drafting quarterbacks is a crapshoot.
Yeah,
it usually is. And you know what? It's like winning the lottery to actually get the one that you want and feel it should be your quarterback. That's kind of where we're at now. Jen says, I think it depends on our offensive coordinator. We did get that. Brian over at One Man's Opinion. Good afternoon, Brian. He says we didn't pick up Phil's fifth-year option for $25 million. Now he's going to get a $40 million multi-year deal. The Steelers are effed and won't have a quality quarterback. And that's not out of the question. Come on, the guy wants paid too. He just sat all season. Most of the season. He's going to want his money. The guy wants to play football. He's a baller. Are we gonna stunt his growth anymore and keep him around and let this happen to him, and then he's gonna go somewhere after this? We got problems.
$40 million a year, just to put that in perspective, that puts you in line with Stafford, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
no
I don't
team
buy
is
it.
going to
I ain't
pay
buying it.
Justin Fields.
I'll take any
$40 million a year.
And I would take any three of those guys any day of the week if I want to win a Super Bowl and build my team. I would take Matt Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen. Them are the guys.
At most, you might get a Gardner Minshew, Sam Darnold type year, the way they got last year. 1 year, $10 million, 2 years, $24 million. 12 spread out over the two. He's going to be in that range, which is very affordable for the Steelers, and would be less than the 50-year option. And he wants to come back.
Jen says, in my opinion. Yeah, of course he does. Nobody else wants to give him the money to let him play. Jen says, in my opinion, so many teams, every time I start reading it scrolls on me. All right, here we go. In my opinion, so many teams try to fit quarterbacks and coordinators that their strengths do not match. I agree 100% with this. Trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You have to listen, Mike. We were talking about this.
We were talking about with the quarterbacks, linebackers, running backs. Yeah,
just trying to force something that's not there. People that draft quarterbacks. Okay, we'll put him in our system. Well, this guy is really good the way he is, and that's why he's really good in college. And if you bring him to the NFL and try to force something that isn't there, you're not going to succeed. And that's Jen. We were just talking about this. I think yesterday, Mike.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of things are going on with these teams and quarterbacks and things that just don't match. It just you can't put a square peg in a round hole. It's not going to work.
You look at what Buffalo did when they got Josh Allen, when Baltimore, when they got Lamar, they changed their offenses to fit those guys. And we talked about this before, way back in the day. Remember, like LeVar Arrington, when he came out of college, he was the freelancer. That's why he was so good. He gets drafted to the Redskins at the time, and their coach at the time was like, we're going to make him play the way we want him to play. He's going to play our way. And then he became an ineffective pro. Like, why would you allow draft someone on, hey, this is what they do, but we're going to make you do this? Like she's saying, square peg, round hole. No, everything has to work with the talent that you have. You have to be willing to adapt to your talent. If you're not, you're going to fail and fail hard.
Yinzer Joe Wilson is probably going to ask for too much. Fields doesn't want to leave and learn a new playbook. I bet he stays if Arthur Smith leaves. We need a coordinator that will be able to develop Fields.
The thing, like with Fields, real quick, I was just checking on his stats. Like his completion percentage this year jumped up to 65%. Not great, but not terrible. As a big jump from last year. His touchdown and interception ratio were a big
impact. Can I play devil's advocate on that, Mike?
Yeah.
Now, listen, his numbers were nice, whatever. They weren't that bad. He did well. But at the end of the day, just when we used to talk about Kenny when when he was here and having those conversations, if they have it or you don't. I feel that Justin Fields is going to be a situation of kicking the can down the road, a temporary Band-Aid. Again, is this going to be the guy that we win the Super Bowl with over the next 3-4 years? I don't think so. I just don't know if the guy has it. I'm not saying he's not good. He's talented.
Yeah.
He's athletic. He could do a lot of things. But at the end of the day, think of what he is and then think of, again, the guys that are getting it done consistently. Does he fall into that group or does he fall into the group of the guys that aren't? And again, we have a lot of imperfections on this team. Again, Mike, granted, if we had the perfect situation, maybe it might be different. But, I think that'd be a bit of a stretch to think that this is our guy, whenever I talk about our guy.
Yeah, and like thing with him, with a lot of quarterbacks that are in that tier of talent of top 20 quarterbacks to top 10 backup quarterbacks, it's the consistency and the speed of which they see the field, and then they're able to process the information. That's why him and Kenny are bottom tier starters, but top tier backups. They just can't do it consistently and fast enough.
He doesn't have that X factor. He's talented. He's athletic. He's, he could be very good.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have that X factor that we always talk about here on the show.
Yeah.
Welcome to over-enthusiastic intern Caleb.
Yes.
Over-enthusiastic intern Caleb says, we are no longer riding with Dangerous. We only ride with Fields.
I love the name.
I do too.
And I love the energy.
I just love saying it. Over-enthusiastic intern Caleb. Welcome. Phyllis still says change and improvement starts at the top. I'm not going to deny that either.
Yeah.
This team has bigger problems than most people know. A lot of people believe they know, but once you start, breaking down some of the things that we talk about on the show, they're looking at you like you have 7.5 heads, but we have more problems than we believe that we know for the most part. Mark Malone says, my God, Derpy, why would you not at least unplug the smoke alarm? Who would put up with that for more than a few hours? Derpy's been putting up with that for 3 years. 3 years.
I tell you,
3 years.
Maybe that's the only thing keeping Derpy in check.
Anything keeping Derpy away
keeps the rage in line. Keeps him in line.
Let's see. P says that's Derpy sound clock. John says Smitho doesn't match with Wilson, hence the issues with them during the season. Roger, what's up, dude? Good afternoon to you, sir. He says, but isn't that the purpose of the Columbine? Yeah.
Getting everyone on the same page, find out that offense will work.
Yeah.
Players, yeah.
John, I recommend to stop thinking fucktards can be the guy. He can't. He can be a Brit. And I agree. And again, on the next one, I agree with you.
Was he trying to say Fields fucktard at the same time? Or
yeah, why not? Let's go with that.
That was great.
It's better for the show. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Mark Malone, Field equals, and I said this before, Cordell 2.0. I've actually texted that to Derpy one time. I can specifically remember typing those words in when I was telling Derpy. He feels like Cordell to me. Again, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying that he doesn't have that X factor that you want if you want to be legit. That's one thing that we really have to take everything else aside and just put that dead center and say, what do we do to get this guy at quarterback, the guy that has the X factor, the guy that's a winner, the guy that has that confidence from day one that you just know is a fighter. He gets things done. He doesn't throw a 7-yard pass on 3rd and 11. He gets things done. That's what we need most. That, guys, everything else, again, if you had that guy, let me put it this way, and it won't happen. It's not expecting to happen, but let's just say you put Josh Allen behind the center with the Steelers. I guarantee this team is a lot better, even with the things that aren't in place, with the offensive line not being good, with not having a legit number 2, without the offensive coordinator issues. I still think that this team is head and shoulders better than what it has been. If Josh Allen, again, it's not ever going to happen. They love their guy. He's their Ben up there in Buffalo. He's not leaving anytime soon.
Oh my
God!
God!
Just look at how different the season would be. He gets it done. He has it.
Because you would be able to run the offense that you want to run. You'd be able to hit a quarterback that can hit all parts of the field. Hit the middle of the field, the deep part, the shallow part. Someone who can scramble and extend plays. My God! Now you just made my nipples hard.
I try. Yinzer Joe says, no, I feel like Darnold was Wilson with more targets to throw to. I guess he's taller. That's a plus.
That's a huge plus. That's a huge plus. You can see
the
middle of the field.
Just learned
you can see the middle of the field.
The only really short quarterbacks we've really known through history would be like Doug Flutie. And I thought, well, you know what? He was successful. Why not? Let's go with this guy, see what he can do. But John says Fields can't read D's, can't anticipate where to throw where the ball, when his number 1 isn't open. 50 games in 4 years are enough. Yeah, you know what? Those are the things that just don't happen to those guys. The guy that you want.
The guy he's a serviceable backup, be a nice bridge player, but he's not the guy going forward. Hell of an athlete, can make all the throws, but like you said, on time with anticipation. I get the fat fingers there, John. Trust me, I get the fat finger. I get the stoned part.
You know what's so weird about Mike?
Too, I'm creeping up there too, brother.
You know what's so weird about Mike? You talk about his fat fingers. One time at the studio, there was a pack of hot dogs in the refrigerator, and I went to eat some. He opened them. There was hot dogs missing from the pack. Yeah, I mean, you picture what a hot dog pack looks like. And the hole was literally smaller than the hot dog that he got the hot dogs out of that were missing from the pack. I went to get some, and the hole was so small, it was literally physically impossible to take a hot dog and squeeze it. I have no idea with them fingers that he has. With those fingers that you have, how you got that hot dog out of that hole, I'll never know. I'll never, ever be able to figure that out, Mike. It would take quantum physics.
It would too, man. It was like my shining moment in life. That was like I peaked at that point of opening the hot dogs with a small hole and got them out.
P says Josh Allen is headed towards a Cam Newton career.
Ooh, if he doesn't win the Super Bowl.
What's that, Derpy? Why, Derpy? Tell me why you agree.
I just agree because Buffalo's wasted his years, just like Cam was wasted in Carolina.
Okay. The thing about Cam was I was constantly told he was good. With Josh Allen, I constantly see he's good. I think that's the difference. When I watch Josh Allen putting up 48 points against Detroit, putting up 40 points, 7 times this season, and maybe more, I don't know. The guy, I see him. You don't have to tell me that Josh Allen is good. Where Cam, I didn't see it all the time. He had off seasons. He went to the Super Bowl. I get that. He had a decent career. But at the end of the day, you didn't have to tell me constantly, as you did with Cam Hayward, Cam Newton, I'm sorry, with how good.
The same thing applies to Cam Hayward.
As he is. John says no quality free agent wants to come to the Steelers. Players talk and know the team is stuck in the 1990s. Roger also says, he goes, Andrew Brees.
Yeah.
Talking about short quarterbacks. He's probably the best ever.
Oh, God. He's so accurate. Just imagine if he was like 6'4", what he would do.
Jen says, I was walking into the doctor's office. I was walking into the doctor's office this morning, and there was a young boy with a Steeler hat on, and I yelled, "Go Steelers!" He smiled and pointed back at me. Made my morning seeing young Steeler fans. Jen, I want to ask you something. I actually thought about you last night. I was reading about the important dates coming up in the draft. Obviously, this one being in Wisconsin. Are you close enough? I don't know the what size the areas, the cities of Wisconsin are. But will you be going to the 2025 draft here? not too long. That's something I was wondering the other day. If you are close enough that you are going to be able to attend. P says Cam was good until he did his shoulder.
Yeah, he got jacked up on that.
Mark Malone, yes. Doug Flutie was another good one. I see him every once in a while on a commercial with Frank Thomas, like for penis health or something.
I was never a big Doug Flutie guy. I just never.
He was a little bit before you. He was a little bit.
I watched him play. He'd run around and make a stupid throw.
Like he came back when you were older, but when I was younger, he was like that was where he got known.
Never liked the guy.
Let me cut over. Also, guys, big scoop. Of course, everybody probably knows this by now. That's right. Deontay Johnson was cut by the Houston Texans. Cut once again, but he goes back to the Baltimore Ravens now. So Deontay Johnson is now a Raven, getting cut again from Houston, but it's projected he will not participate in the playoffs for the rest of the season. He's more likely just to be on the team. They said he's probably not even going to be at the facility anymore. So that is your update on Deontay.
I forget which reporter in Pittsburgh tweeted it out, but it made me chuckle. Like his frequent flyer miles have to be amazing this year. The amount of times that he's been cut and traded.
You're right. The guy's definitely earned some free miles.
Hell yeah.
Former Pitt wide receiver Jared Wayne, he does get elevated to the roster off the practice squad in Houston because DJ did get cut and released from the Houston Texans. So you will see former Pitt receiver Jared Wayne possibly, who I thought was a really good receiver, and I think he could certainly be a nice supplemental player in their game. But you know what? They do play the Kansas City Chiefs next. We still do have to get into these picks. It's not as many, so I waited a little longer. Let me get a couple of these comments out of the way, guys. John, he says young Steeler fans learn disappointment and scar tissue early.
Yeah, scar tissue's built up from watching the Steelers play in the 80s and early 90s. Nothing.
I know once your scar tissue builds up, it like gets stronger.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
I got the strongest scar tissue ever.
Right.
Jen says 1 hour away from me. I definitely could attend, but I hate people. I agree.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the one coming up into Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I would love to be there, but I just can't imagine me with.
People around me that remind me of me. No,
right. Over enthusiastic interim Caleb says offer supreme pizza with extra cheese, Steeler counter, defense salary cap that matches the GDP of an island nation. There's a lot going on in this comment. What am I reading?
I like it. I
just went cross-eyed. What happened?
Hey, if we can get that kind of salary cap of a small island nation, I think we can finally build a really good defense. Yeah.
I'm not that bright. P says Flutie had to go to Warren Moon route due to his height.
Yeah. Mark
Malone says P. Yeah, man, the USFL got quite a few players there for a year or two. John says, yeah, that's it. That Nugenex is with Doug Flutie and what's his name? Frank Thomas. You're like on the beach.
Peaches will like it.
Peaches will love it.
She'll love it.
And let's see what else.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Ty Law and Russ Grimm inducted into the Whippeal Hall of Fame right here in Western Pennsylvania, which they obviously belong, Russ Grimm and Ty Law. Mike, let's get into the picks.
Yes.
Yeah, let's get into the picks. Derp, are you ready to pick some football teams? I got to tell you, it's getting really close. Mike was able to pull back into reaching distance, Derpy, last week with the win off the tiebreaker. So basically, it's down to a 3-game difference with 3 weeks left. So, Derpy, this is the biggest week that you've had to pick yet. Mike, this is the biggest week that you have to pick yet. And if you win, you pull within 2 games of Derpy with 2 weeks left. Mike, it's totally doable. Derpy, you have the opportunity today to separate yourself and even be the winner possibly this weekend if you do win. So, Mike, take this seriously. This is the biggest picks of the year. This is going to decide a lot of things. This is going to keep you active and keep you alive. It's going to make Derpy the champ. Whatever it is, this is the biggest picks that we've done all year. I already see that there are some picks up. Field of Steel says Kansas City, Buffalo, LA, and Detroit. Bank it. That's some pretty good picks. Guys, I'm almost there. As soon as I get there, we will do this. Mike, there's only 4 games this weekend. This will be short and sweet. Derpy, are you ready?
I don't want to see another Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl. But it'll happen.
I don't either. All right, Mike. So you won. So you have the chance to take it or defer. Do you want to answer? Do your pick
I'm
first?
deferring.
Deferring Derpy.
Yep.
All right, so it's going to come over to Derpy first, guys. Here we go. First game of the weekend, 4:30 on Saturday. The Houston Texans, they do travel to Kansas City to take on the current reigning champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Derpy, who do you like in this game?
I liked how the Texans played last week, but it's not going to be enough for the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs.
I would agree if I was picking. So Derpy's taking Kansas City, and plus the league doesn't want Kansas City out just yet. I think if they lose, it's gonna be a scene and it's gonna be a big game and a Super Bowl, whatever. Mike, I'm gonna come over to you next. Derpy believes that the Kansas City Chiefs will win this game this weekend at Arrowhead. Mike, the Texans at the Chiefs. Who do you like?
I am taking Kansas City Chiefs in a no-brainer.
All right. Second game, Derpy, 8:00 Saturday night is between the Washington Commanders. This game is at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan, against the Lions. Derpy, Commanders or Lions?
This is rough. I'm gonna say the Lions, but like, it would be interesting if Washington upset them.
All right, interesting.
But
Mike,
give me Detroit.
Okay, Derpy took Detroit in this one. A lot of people would say the same thing, I think. Where are you coming from, Mike? Washington at Detroit, 8:00 Saturday night in Michigan.
I am going to take the Detroit Lions. I think Washington, their Cinderella season is going to come to an end. I like what they got going on down there, but it's a year too early for this team.
All right. So far, you guys and Field of Steel are all on the same page. Next game, Derpy. This is the first game on Sunday. It's a 3:00 game between the Rams and the Eagles over on the smelly side of the state we have here, the Commonwealth, if you will. Derpy, Rams from the West Coast all the way over to the Eagles and the East Coast. Who wins this football game? This is the one that makes me worry a little bit. I like Matthew Stafford a lot.
One team has a Super Bowl champion. The other one is a choke artist.
It's true.
But one has a good defense. The other one has an okay defense.
That's also true. And with that being said, Derpy, who do you take?
I don't want to do it, but I'm going to have to take the Eagles.
All right. No, I
trust their defense.
It's safe. Mike, over to you. Rams at the Eagles.
Yeah, like I was going to say, too, I like
of the four games. I think
this could be the best one. I think. Like I like Stafford, Jalen Hurts. He balled out in that Super Bowl, but they fell short. It like this year and last year, you don't know what Jalen Hurts you're getting. One game he's lights out. Next game, his wide receivers are reading self-help books so they don't strangle him.
What I do like about Philadelphia is if Kenny was able to come in and win 45-17 or whatever, I like their chances when Hurts is in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too. That's what like
they got a lot going on. Where like how we were talking about how we have a lot of problems. They have all those problems solved.
Yeah,
a lot of the problems we have, Philadelphia, they have them issues fixed, and that's kind of what I was saying before.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike. So the
no, you're good. I like their defense. I think that's going to be an equalizer, and Philly can always rely on their run game. Their own line might be the best in the business, so I'm going to go with Philly, but I think it's going to be a damn close game.
I think these are all going to be really good games. As a matter of fact, the final game, guys, and this will be the one we do the tiebreaker off of.
Mm-hmm.
The last game of the weekend, 6:30 on Sunday evening, is going to be the Ravens at the Bills. They go to Western New York. Who knows what's going to be going on? This is usually when they're calling their fans in to shovel snow out of the stadium. Guys, I don't know what it's going to be, but one thing we do know is on Sunday night at 6:30, the Ravens are going to be at Buffalo to play the Bills. Derpy, who do you like in this one? I think this is a difficult one to pick too.
Well, one team played a mediocre team, and the other team just completely dominated their opponent. So I'm just gonna go with the Bills.
Yeah, for a couple reasons for me. I'm doing the same, only because I think the Bills are better, but I don't like the Ravens. So but naturally, I would take the Bills in this game as well. Derpy and I both take the Bills Phyllis still took the Bills, Mike. This comes down to you, and then we will get our score for tiebreakers. Who do you like in this game between the Ravens and the Bills in Buffalo?
I don't think either quarterback has made it past this round. Has Josh Allen made it to the AFC Championship game?
I can't think.
He may have won and lost to Mahomes. So
yeah.
I hate to say this, boys, but I'm taking Baltimore. I'm going to rely on Derrick Henry all day long. Let him run and run free.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game. The line is Baltimore -1 on the road. I just think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a fun matchup between these two quarterbacks, and whichever quarterback loses, I saw this on Twitter, and I think they're right, is going to absolutely get destroyed for no fault of their own. I think it's going to be an A+ performance from both teams, but I'm taking Baltimore in the end.
All right, so that eliminates the it does eliminate the tiebreaker because there is no way, and the teams can't tie because it's the playoffs. So that eliminates the tiebreaker in this round. So we are set, guys. The teams are in place. Everybody is pretty similar. Mike did take the Ravens, which was the only difference. I'm going to put that away in the vault. We won't pull that out till Monday morning. Now, let me get through a few of these messages, Mike, before we do move on. I'm going to start right here where Ginzer Joe says, no one thought Tommy Maddox was anyone, but he was taking the Steelers to the Super Bowl until he got hurt. And Ben came, yeah, he was good. And the thing about him was, I mentioned you on the show the other day, he was a guy that was able to throw the ball around like Neil O'Donnell was prior to a bunch of other quarterbacks that were really bad. You need a guy that throws the ball downfield. He was able to do that, but he had a lot of other faults, Tommy Maddox. But I think we lucked out with how things went the way that they went. Mark Malone says Maddox was great until he got paralyzed in that game against Tennessee. Was never the same after. You're right. He was he played different after that linebacker from Tennessee.
He became much more hesitant.
Over enthusiastic intern Caleb, he asks, I gotta know, is Derpy a family name? Well, no, Derpy's actually a pet name. Next comment.
I hate you.
Also, Mark Malone says more of family shame. Phyllis still says, I say Derpy is Dexter. He's Dexter. I like that.
Derpy's out there serial killing people.
And Yinzer Joe says Johnson can't play until next season. I think the Ravens get a compensatory pick for having him. I think that's the case as well.
I think so too. That or because he's not a restricted free agent or anything. It's got to be for the compensatory calculations.
Absolutely.
If so, smart move.
Absolutely. Mike, a couple other things around now. Can't blame the guy, as Mark Malone says. Also around the Berg, Mike, the Kraken, they beat the Penguins 4-2 in the last game. That's about 3 losses in a row now for the Pens. They're back at it tomorrow at Buffalo. As a matter of fact, they're going to Buffalo as well. That game is at 7 o'clock tomorrow. The Penguins do decide to waive their goalie, Tristan Jarry, Mike. I think this surprised a lot of people around Pittsburgh, not because they loved the guy, but it was just kind of a surprise whenever you woke up yesterday and seeing that they waived Tristan Jarry.
Jarry. That was I was not expecting that, but you have to do it. You have to try and move on from that contract.
And finally, Pittsburgh Penguins, Evgeny Malkin becomes the latest victim, guys. Evgeny Malkin, Geno Malkin here on the Penguins. His home was broken into, and 3 Stanley Cup rings were stolen while the Penguins were playing on Saturday against the Ottawa Senators, the afternoon game. Somebody now after Patrick Mahomes, and there's about 3 guys out there, big name guys. I think Kelsey, Mahomes, somebody else was a big name. I can't think who it was. And now Geno Malkin, the superstar from the Penguins, had his house burglarized Saturday. 3 Stanley Cup rings are missing.
No.
Pittsburgh Pirates, Paul Skeens is listed as the 4th best starting pitcher in baseball, according to MLB.com rankings. So
sounds
not
about
bad
right.
for after playing your rookie season. You're already the 4th best starter in majors. That's pretty good. And finally, Bub Carrington, of course, the former Pitt basketball player, he ranks amongst the best rookies in the NBA. Mike, he's having a really good season. Nice. Bub Carrington over there in with the Washington Wizards basketball team. Let me catch up on a couple of these, and then we do got to move on here, guys. Mark Malone, okay, can't blame the guy. Over enthusiastic intern Caleb asks Derpy, where were you on October 25th, 1991? I wonder what that's all about. John says getting a Heinz Ward pedicure. Over-enthusiastic intern Caleb says Joe Burrow. Also, Joe Burrow is the other one. Thank you, over-enthusiastic intern Caleb. Joe Burrow did have his house
that's right.
broken into. That's right. Steeler Joe, Mike, suit up, need a line. That's what I always tell him. I'm like, with them fingers, get out there and poke somebody in the eyes or something.
I got 2 bad knees, a bad back, bad hip, bad ankles. Ain't gonna happen.
Mark Malone, damn, these guys pay a few buddies to hang out at their houses with guns while they're playing.
Right?
What is that, Mike? I sometimes
about the Malkin thing, like hire people to hang out at your house. Yeah.
Where's the security in these rich people's homes? Is what I'm wondering.
Like I noticed, Cam Hayward didn't get any of his Super Bowl rings stolen.
Yeah,
I'm told he's great.
He keeps it in the same lockbox as TJ where he keeps it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Phil. It's still.
But the chokes are there. You got to take it.
As I was saying it, it came out of my mouth. Oh, man. Phil is still going to kill me.
He's going to kick our asses.
P. Burrow had some Instabop watching us out. Yeah,
that's right.
Right.
Yeah,
like a supermodel or something.
Yeah.
Come on. Something's weird about all this.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. You have to know about the inside and the way houses are. And if things are unlocked, and especially if there's cameras, which there are everywhere nowadays, it's just, it makes you think it's got to be some kind of, there's got to be something inside the job. I don't know. It just seems really, really difficult if you were to try to do that. Go find, go down to Swickley, these homes of rich people, hockey players, Penguins, Steelers. A lot of them have big black gates around them and very visible cameras everywhere. Again, seems like it would be a difficult thing to do just without having any kind of leads or connections. Mike, why don't you again tell everybody about the website, man?
The2dumyinzers.com. Check it out, everyone, especially if you're new here. We got all our links over there. We got merchandise store over there. Like I said, after the playoffs conclude, the blog will be making its triumphant return, baby. Like Jay and Silent Bob, it will be back.
All right. Go check it out, everybody. www.the2dumyinzers.com. That's www.the2dumyinzers.com. Time for the trivia question of the day, guys. This is some more Pittsburgh Steelers January off-season, end-of-season, postseason kind of questions. Today's question is this, guys. Steelers record all-time in January of games that weren't playoff games. So January games for the Steelers that aren't playoff games. I hear Mike clicking earlier. What are you up to? I think you forget that your click. I think you forget your click is so.
Oh no, I know the click's there. I'm not on Google. I will screen share all my tabs open. Well, except that one, the midget porn.
All right. Well, that's what I want to see. All right. So here we go. All time in January, the Steelers played 18 games. All time in January that weren't playoff games. The Steelers played 18 January games all time that weren't playoff games, regular season games. You know the ones I'm talking about, these January 1st games against the Browns. You see them every year. My question to you is, of the 18 games ever played in January in regular season play, how many wins out of the 18 games do the Steelers have? They've played 18 non-playoff games in January in their history. How many of those 18? How many of those 18, guys, did the Steelers win? Take a minute to think it over. We're live 5 days a week right here, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every day right here on YouTube.
Is that a shot at me, Yinzer Joe?
I have to read this just because what's Derpy talking about? Yinzer Joe says the big cities in Ohio are just bad to live in. You constantly have to be aware of your surroundings, lock things down, and turn on alarms on I hate Ohio. I live there. I live here. Would rather be in PA. I think he's referring back to maybe Burrow and the people stealing people's things and breaking into homes.
Okay.
I'm like, they're called little people. Come on.
Come on, P. Oh.
All right, so I got a couple guesses on the board, though, guys.
Quoting everyone else's.
I do want to say good afternoon to Ralph as well. If I didn't, I don't retain. Hi, Ralph. Phyllis still said there's 12. The Steelers won 12 of those 18 games. Ralph saying 5. Question again, guys. The Steelers have played 18 total January non-playoff games in their history. 18 non-playoff January games. Guys, the question of the day is how many wins out of the 18? How many of those games are wins? All-time January non-playoff Steeler games, 18 total. How many of them were wins? I see a 12 on the board. I see a 5 on the board. Derpy, I'm going to start with you today, sir. How many wins in January do you think the Steelers have of those 18 games that were played that were not playoff games?
14.
14. Is that your final answer?
Yes.
All right. Derpy got 14. P saying 11. Good guess as well. Everybody got good guesses so far. Over enthusiastic intern Caleb says at least 19. Of the 18 games played, he's saying that they won at least 19. I like it. I like the logic. And Mike, finally over to you. Question of the day. The Steelers' all-time record in January in non-playoff games. I'm looking for how many wins they got. 18 games is the amount played in their history. The amount of wins is what's going to get you the answer. Correct or incorrect? Derpy has 14. Guys on the board have all different answers. What do you think?
7.
7. Is that your final answer?
Final answer.
All right. So I got Mike locked in at 7 and Derpy at 14. Phyllis still says it looks like Derpy and Mike Googled it. I agree. Every time there's a question, I start hearing ticks and clicks and beeps and whistles and everything else. All of them are not enough by Jen. Listen here, guys. This is the question of the day. Steelers record all time in January non-playoff games is what we're looking for. Guys, they played 18 total games in January that weren't playoff games in the history of this team. How many wins of those 18 is what we're looking for? Mike says 7. Derpy says 14, 11, 5, 12, 19, everything like this. So guys, all different kind of answers on the board. The answer is 15-3.
Wow.
In 18 January non-playoff games in Steeler history played, they are 15-3.
Wow.
So that's kind of good. I mean, come on. Granted, 10 of those are against the Browns. I do want to say there's a couple against the Ravens, a couple against the Bengals, a couple scragglers, but most of these games, 10 of them actually, 10 of the 18 were against the Browns. We did lose a couple. I do want to throw that in there over the years. But that is what it is, guys. 15 January wins in non-playoff games in Steeler history. That's kind of impressive, along with pretty much everything else you look up about this team. So no surprise to me, you guys. All great job, though. Great try. Mike, anything we do start getting ready to wrap things up for today, brother?
No, not really. Because you already touched on like Arthur Smith with his interview with the Jets. That just wrapped up today. Yeah, I got nothing. I've been scrolling Twitter trying to find something good to wrap the show up with.
Nothing popping up.
Okay. Nothing popping up. No, the answers didn't pop up. No good scoops popped up. So other than
Derpy,
thanks for tuning in, everyone. I appreciate it.
Derpy, what about you, man? Anything before we start getting ready to take off, bro?
Condolences to Bob Uecker.
He retired, Derpy.
No, he died.
He died? I thought he retired.
No, he just died.
Oh, he just died, like during the show?
Yeah, it was like an hour ago.
Huh. Yeah, he was a good actor. Mr. Belvedere was
he did.
Setting right here in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, right across the river where Joe Namath is from. Bob Uecker was the father on Mr. Belvedere, which actually wasn't taped over here, but that was the setting. Pretty cool, though, nonetheless. Guys, tomorrow we're going to be talking about the important dates for the Steelers moving forward. Combine, obviously, just right around the corner. After the Super Bowl finishes up, you have Combine, you have free agency, you have all different kind of stuff all the way up to the draft, and then after that, even more. So, guys, do keep continuing to tune in. Like I said, we'll be getting into those important dates tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit more about what we expect to see as those dates do come and go. Also, I do want to say, guys, if you didn't catch the beginning of the show, there was a couple of interesting stories that I picked up from Pittsburgh. I'm just going to give you a quick idea of what they were. I thought these were really cool. The KFC in Mexico, guys, look up the KFC in Mexico. Big fans of the Steelers. Actually, a lot of listeners of this show from from Mexico. Look up the KFC down there. It is a Steelers KFC. They decked it out. There's a big logo on the front, a big like a LED logo, and the building is yellow and black. And then you go on the inside, and they have all these Steeler jerseys, and they really do it up. As a matter of fact, the employees wear Steeler jerseys all the time at work. Really, really cool. I seen that over the weekend, Mike, and Mike did show a picture earlier. But the KFC in Mexico is awesome. Pittsburgh Steeler KFC. The other couple of things were, Mike, Pittsburgh's first women's sports bar to open up in mid-February, Title IX, here in Pittsburgh and East Liberty. All women's, or first women's sports watch bar. We don't know what that is, but I know that every man in Western PA will probably be lined up outside the door to see what's going on inside that bar.
Derpy and Peaches will be there.
Derpy and Peaches will be there. Well, I know Peaches will be there. Derpy will be trying to get in. I know Peaches, And then finally, one man was charged with a misdemeanor after he stole 25 terrible towels from a Cranberry Giant Eagle last weekend before the playoff game. 25 terrible towels, Mike. What do you do? What do you do with that many terrible towels? And if you do, hand them out and give them to your friends. Do you tell them you stole them all?
I wouldn't. But hey, man, I bought you these, man. I bought these, on a nice spree. I thought everyone needs a fresh, new, terrible towel. We're wiping the slate clean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Phil still says the argument needs to be in the TDY shorts. Over enthusiastic intern Caleb, he says, as of April, a consulting firm is trying to bring an NBA, WNBA team to Pittsburgh. My only problem with that is this has been looked into many times, and it's the available entertainment dollars is something that's if you look it up, that plays a big part, and it's something like the amount of people by the income of people in Pittsburgh, and they put all these numbers together and they come out with it's not going to be possible to carry 4 pro sports teams in Pittsburgh. I would like to see it. Don't get me wrong. I think it would be pretty sweet. But again, is there enough people that make enough money for those things to all add up to put a 4th team in a city that's not really that big compared to the rest of the bigger cities in this country? So I like the enthusiastic take from over enthusiastic intern Caleb. But personally, I don't see it coming. They've tried with ABA teams, CBA teams when I was younger in the 90s, and it just didn't ever seem like it would be able to stir up enough. But you know what? I'll keep our fingers crossed as well, because, hey, more sports in Pittsburgh, black and gold will take it, baby. I do want to thank everybody for coming and hanging out, watching us today. Yes. We do appreciate each and every one of you, as always. We really, truly, certainly do. We couldn't do it without you. I want to say thank you to everybody on the board. You guys always keep things interesting here on the show, and everybody at home as well. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back tomorrow at our regular time to get ready to head into the weekend, Mike. There's always multiple things going on, games, hockey, Pitt, football, playoffs, and not to mention the game on Monday, the national championship between Ohio State and Notre Dame. So we will be talking about all that stuff and this Pittsburgh and this Pittsburgh Steelers team moving forward, what it is they got to do, and any kind of headlines that come up in the meantime. So do join us tomorrow. I got to grab this last one here. Phil still says, "Hey, Derps, what's that shiny on your screen?" Derpy said is Mike's bald head, actually.
That's the Steeler logo with all the Super Bowls. That's Derpy's little icon.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Anything else, guys? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Derpy, Michael?
Nothing, man. Have a good day, everyone.
Boom.
Yeah, yes. Snow is coming down. Boom! The snow is coming down here in Western PA. If you're local, be sure to be careful. It's slick. Mike was out there earlier, said it's really cold, so be careful. Everybody else have a great Thursday. We hope everybody stays safe. We hope everybody returns tomorrow. We'll talk to everybody at our normal time. For Derpy, for Mike and the Steeler Central Mobile Studio, my bad, and myself, the 2 Dum Yinzers. Everybody have a great Thursday.